guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He is in his late 30s, and he shares his story about events that happened back starting in 2010 through 2012, when he was young and dumb and got involved with an absolute giant 304, HOE, whatever you want to call it. A gal that had more red flags than the CCP parades, as you guys like to say. And yet, he still stayed with her and had a relationship with her. However, you're going to see that eventually the red flags are just too much, and eventually, well, even this guy kicks her to the curb. And let me tell you, red flags, I'm talking about a body count that would make your mouth drop. I'm talking about how, well, let's just say that she advertised herself somewhere on the internet, which you're going to see, and they just kept on coming back for more. But our guy learns his lesson, and now eventually, fast forward in time, he's doing well, and she, not so well. So it starts off, says here, hi there, longtime viewer and avid listener. This is on the longer side, but a lot to unpack here. I'm a late 30s guy, and I'm from your old stomping ground. Wicked pissa, huh? We might call the main characters James, myself, and my ex, M. This dude is from Boston. To start off my story, I need to go back a tiny bit to add some context to some of the poor decisions I made along the way. Not excuses, but reasons behind my choices. I'm glad you're admitting that. Yeah, you fucked up, but you were young and dumb, as many of us did bonehead things when we were young. Not excuses, but they're the reasons. I was living in Florida at the time in 2010 and was preparing to head back to Beantown after a sketchy breakup with my then girlfriend. Her name can be Sheila for the story's sake. The lead up to that breakup was due to Sheila snooping on Facebook, noticing a post made by a fellow coworker about our store, and the neighbor's store going out to a local bar for pool and drinks. We worked in the mall, so this made neighbor stores and their workers friendly with one another at times. This particular store had a young woman who was currently in an active long-distance relationship. There was never any question in our minds of any ill intent from her or trying to seduce anyone for that matter. Anyway, that store manager one evening had gone to the bar with my coworker to hash out some trash talking that took place about him being able to crush her in pool. She had taken up the offer, and the result of their game was a swiftly posted on Facebook by my coworker to relish in her defeat, blah, blah, blah. They both had commented on the post jokingly talking trash to one another, mentioning each other's names, singling each other out. We're getting somewhere with this, guys. Well, my ex, Sheila, had read the post and immediately targeted me as a cheater and having some kind of inappropriate relationship with a girl who worked with us by the mall. I was caught off guard, considering I had no part in their after-work games. So you had yourself a hothead girl, huh? Well, is it possible, as this goes, that maybe she was looking for an excuse to scream and throw a tantrum and get rid of you? Not to mention, if she had read the comments or looked into it more, the post clearly highlights their friendly feud with one another and no mention of me. Well, in that moment, she had blown up at me and broken up with me on the spot without any chance to defend myself or explain myself. So I said screw it and left to go stay with a friend not long after, until I was able to figure out my life. I wasn't a Florida native, so my entire family is back in Massachusetts. I'm not buying that breakup just because she saw that post on Facebook and thought you were cheating. I think that she already had a guy on the side, and this was the perfect excuse to blow up at you and make it out like it was your fault instead of her. And then when she moved on to the next guy, she could say, hey, he was cheating on me, or I couldn't trust him, blah, 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 and that type of thing. During one of my many trips back to the house we rented to collect my things, we had one final blow-up. I finally was able to show her the post in question in its entirety, exonerating me from her baseless accusations of infidelity. Her reaction was odd to me. She came across as upset as if she screwed up, but more so that she had somehow made some decisions while single that she couldn't take back, and feeling remorseful for. I couldn't be sure of that, but was feeling an odd feeling that I was getting from her. I was really torn about us allowing us to get back together, but we've been together for 7 years at that point. 7 years, huh? That's a long time at that age. Thankfully, not married and no kids. After a few days of mulling over the thought of getting back together, I'd gone back to the house to have a conversation about how let down I felt about being thrown away so quickly without allowing the truth to rise to the top. Like she wanted to be true for waiting as an excuse to move on. Now you're thinking. But when I had gone over to talk, her personality changed dramatically. No longer was she crying, shocker. but instead a happy demeanor about an actual about-face and her stance on wanting to get back together. She made her choice and it wasn't me. I was hurt for a second time over this. I didn't let her see me. I was hurting. I did that alone in my own time. Yeah, she had somebody else. That's what happened. That's how a lot of women roll. You know, they'll find the guy's replacement, and then they'll break up with them or start a bunch of drama and make it like it was the guy's fault when they broke up, and then move on. So I packed up and drove back to Massachusetts to start over again. I moved back with my family and looked for work shortly after returning, ready to jumpstart my life, at least financially. I ended up with a job my friend landed me to get back on my feet. Nothing great, but enough to pay some bills. Well, pretty soon he's going to meet the wacko. I was a wreck emotionally. I was angry and upset, leading to a deep depression for some time over the course of the next 6 months. I had minimal contact with the ex during this time, except to iron out some unsettled bills that needed to be resolved. What I found out during one of those calls broke me. After only 3 short months of my return home, my now ex was in a serious relationship with someone. And wait for it, they're engaged too. There you go. There's no way that something wasn't going on. She was cheating on you, and I'm sorry to say that, and she just found any excuse she could to break up with you. This was the dagger in my back, making the last 7 years absolutely meaningless. To move on so quickly after such a long relationship was telling on her part. She moved on so easily because she already had moved on from you a long time before that, and you didn't know. This happens to so many guys. I had spoken with one of her family members not too much longer afterwards when they messaged me on social media to check up on me and how I was doing. Well, that's nice of them. No, they checked up on you, but not her. During our brief conversation, she had mentioned how my ex and her soon-to-be husband met one another. He was the physical therapist for her mother, who had been battling a recently diagnosed terminal illness. They met at one of her mother's therapy appointments. For clarity, she was diagnosed while we were still together. Around the same time, we went through this breakup. I can't say for sure that she met this person at the time, but given the circumstances of events, but it sure seemed that way. Yeah, I don't buy her bullshit. I had no proof, but didn't need nor wanted any at that point. I was just angry and determined to get even. I felt the only way I could get back at her was getting in shape and landing a new woman. That was my plan, and I set it in motion. Yes, I know smack, a dumb idea about getting a new woman to try and throw salt in the wound is my master plan. Well, a lot of times the way to get over an older woman is to get under a new one, but you need to work on yourself first before you do all that. I'm all for you working out and losing weight and everything, but and then you got to pick the right woman, and this woman you pick is not the right one. For context, I was 230 pounds at the time. I went full hardcore diet and exercise mode. In short, I went from 230 pounds down to 130 in 6 months. Holy crap, dude, that's crazy. I mean, were you eating literally like just lettuce and carrots and water like a fucking bunny? My God, that's just too much. Yeah, it can be done, but it's too much too soon in the body. And I think, unless you aren't that tall, 130 pounds is like really skinny, man. No joke, I had the photos to prove it. My sister would joke that I looked like I had cancer now. But I felt great about myself and dug myself out of the dark hole I was sitting in for so long. Well, you're about to go in another hole. During the end of my weight loss journey, I landed a cool job working in Boston, so things were looking up. Now to the main story. Okay, now we're getting there, and after like 8 minutes. The year 2012, and while at work, I bumped into a gal I found somewhat attractive. This would be M. Well, I'm not going to call her M because I don't like these silly initials. So I'm just going to call her Megan. This is Megan now. She worked for the same company and traveled as part of her job. To my surprise, she was from Florida. Oh, small world. This really piqued my interest and was one of the sole reasons for my continuation of our conversations. There were other small things that we shared interest in, mainly dogs and food. Not dog food, dogs and food. Oh, what? She likes to eat? Imagine that. But that's about it, where it ended. Megan wasn't anything great, a 6 at best, and a little bit overweight. But that didn't bother me too much since I used to be a heavier guy myself. In our many text exchanges, I found out where she lived and where her family had been from. Like a beacon calling out to me, the location was the exact city I departed when leaving my last ex, Sheila, in Florida. Dude, that's weird. I thought to myself, what in the hell are the chances of this? And that did it for me. I knew this was my way back to Florida and felt this would be my way of exacting my revenge. Bro, you are wasting your time trying to get revenge on your ex because gentlemen, you're about to see what happens to this guy. You should be, if you're with some chick, if you want to lose weight and you're with some chick, do it because you're doing it for you, not just to get revenge. I know revenge can be a powerful motivator and it can have its place, but also can cause people to do really stupid ass things. Showing her for what she gave up for some balding, goofy-looking guy 15 years her senior. Yes, she married a guy who is 15 years older than her and looks like a total cuck. So like a dimwit, I jumped into dating this woman who I wasn't at all excited about to begin with. Then that was stupid. We hung out a few times, and after a few times hanging out, I got laid. It wasn't anything amazing, but it had been a little while, so I wasn't really complaining that much. One evening while hanging out at her place in bed, I noticed a notification go off on her phone. It was dating apps that were actively pinging her. I got nosy and noticed a ton of active conversations with men. And here we go. Tons of active conversations. Casually chatting to straight up soliciting sex. I thought maybe they were from previous conversations. Nope, some were not. And this is when you realize this is just a friends with benefits type because you're not that into her. Frankly, she doesn't sound that great. And that's it. Nothing ever indicated that we were meeting up or had met up, but the conversations were there. To be fair, we weren't exactly a couple at that time, so I didn't make a huge deal about it. But it did bother me that while having a thing for me, she was still talking to other men. Attention and validation, my man. I discussed with her about her dating apps, and she had said that she used them out of boredom, but had no intention of actually going anywhere with them. She promptly deleted said apps. Yeah, she deleted them, and then she can then reinstall them later and kind of hide them on the phone from you. I mean, duh. Bro, this is the time to walk away. We got into a discussion of S-word partners, and she was very open about her experience. Boy, was she experienced. I never met anyone in my life that actually said their number was in the triple digits. Triple digits, huh? Goodbye. Go get that STD test while you're at it, but yeah, goodbye. It was shocking and gross in my mind. I low-key shamed her for it because in reality, looking back at it now, she should have been shaming for acting like an SLUT. She was still in her late 30s, and at that point, which means even if she had sex with 5 different guys a year for 20 years, starting at age 16, she'd be cracking the hundreds. So, let's review. You're not at all into this chick. You're not really attracted to this chick. She's like at least 10 to 12 years older than you. She's overweight, and now has a body count of over 100. Or who knows? The triple digits could be 100 or it could be 999. So, I'm sure she wasn't 100, but probably not 999, but obviously something pretty hot. And guess what? A liar, deceitful, all that. Those numbers seem unfathomable to me, but alas, they were real. I would find out later that firsthand about her promiscuous encounters. As you can already tell, I ignored every giant flashing red warning light to avoid this STD-infested 304. Yep, we both decided to pack up and move to Florida together. Are you out of your freaking mind? Smack! Just smacked you earlier a few times. This is not girlfriend material. This isn't even someone you hang out with material. No. We packed up and moved back to the Sunshine State, and I was excited for all the wrong reasons. I knew deep down that this move was a mistake. My pride and ego couldn't let the previous relationship go without exacting some form of revenge. What revenge? You're going to run to your ex over at fucking Walgreens, and she's going to see you with this broad, she's going to be like, pfft. That's not revenge. Now, if you were with a young 21-year-old that was smoking hot and all over you and really into you, that's revenge, not some older chick from Boston. And I know you said she's from Florida, but she spent enough time in Boston, and Boston's going to rub off on her. Yeah, it's just like in the movie Ted, when the bear was making fun of Massachusetts women. There's a lot of fucking truth to that. And all my former masshole brothers well, you're still my brothers from Massachusetts. You know what I'm talking about here. So we moved down there, dumbass. We moved back to my previous town that I lived in, moved into a house we rented down the street from her family, so it made relocating that much easier. Both found jobs in fields that most align with our skills. Her skills weren't particularly geared toward the functions of the actual job, but more so the skills performed on those that work there. In short, my now girlfriend was a badge bunny. How did I find this out, may you ask? Well, that's what Craigslist, emails, and random text messages are for, most of which were stumbled upon shortly after getting to Florida. One of the first instances occurred with a message from my ex received one evening while at home from a man listed as Mr. P. I'd gone to her and confronted her. Who the hell or what is Mr. P? She explained it wasn't out of the norm for her to receive random messages from old flings in her past that she used to hook up with. Bro, at this point, you're getting exactly what you deserve. You should have known better to get involved with her. This particular person was a Florida cop and married for that matter. She used to hook up with this guy and had the impression like he would leave his wife for her average overweight self. But he was a friend. Last I thought friends did stuff other than get plowed in the backseat of his cruiser or slammed from behind at his house while the wife was gone. Friend my ass. Either she is that stupid to think this person was truly her friend, or seemed to think that I was stupid enough to believe such a thing. Well, you didn't believe it, but you stayed with her, so you were stupid. And no, she didn't think that he was just a friend to go fucking play pool, shoot darts with. No, this is what they call the guy they hook up with. I mean, come on, bro. Either way, I was pissed off about it, and even more so after finding out that Mr. P stood for. Mr. P was some kind of Sex and the City reference that her and her nasty friends would associate S-word nicknames for their sex partners, and would only refer to them as in this manner. In this person's case, it was Mr. P, which was Mr. Pussy, because he did good things with his mouth, according to her. And yet women get mad when guys have nicknames for gals. Guess what? Women do the same thing to guys. Girls have locker room talk too. I didn't know what was worse, her receiving messages from this guy, or the fact that she stored him in her phone as Mr. P. We actually had a giant fight over this. If I only knew what this was just the beginning of the bombardment of cops that would hit her over the course of our relationship. Bro, I mean, come on here. You admitted you weren't that into her. You were doing this to get revenge on your ex, which wasn't really any revenge. I mean, you're bringing all this misery in your life. I mean, come on here. You could have just hightailed out of there. Why in God's name did you stay with her? I wouldn't even want to be within 100 feet of her feeling like I'm going to catch something from her. I mean, for God's sakes, dude. Emails and Craigslist. So one evening, we were trying to sell a few things to clear out some unwanted things in our house to make space for some more junk that we couldn't afford. Off to Craigslist we went. She logged into her account and created the ad to be listed. Not long after the first listed, we started posting more frequently. I ended up jumping on to sell something personal of my own, one time. When I created the ad while under her account, I realized I omitted something from the posting. So I jumped back into the created ads and happened to see some old postings she had made previously to us meeting. Oh my God. The amount of CL women seeking casual encounter ads looking for an off-duty officer to come and service her was more than I could bear. So she's the Craigslist 304 with a body count in well over 100. Yeah. And you're still with her. This is your girlfriend. I can only imagine the comments right now with all the guys. Right now, there are guys all over the world that are just commenting away, giving this guy shit. Remember, this is his past self. The guy has since learned. Let's see here. There had to be at least 9 of them, all with similar postings, essentially looking for a man uniform to come rail her. Condoms optional. I then started to dig into her emails at this point, which yet again turned up more explicit messages between her and guys she has effed or was supposed to screw. I was so turned off by all this, it literally made my stomach turn. I couldn't believe it. I let myself go across the country to follow some SLUT bag. Yeah, I can't believe it either. I know everyone has a past, but it comes to a point when one must be judged. Judged she was. I confronted her when she had gotten home from work that day, which is at our local corrections facility, might I add. She works at the local corrections facility. Oh God, there's some more stereotypes. How about with the what's going on with the inmates? I'm sure there's nothing to do with being surrounded by men in uniform to potentially seduce like a Black Widow. She has no remorse for her past and thinks that it should stay where it belongs. I say it would be a little bit more palatable if you didn't purposely go out and get a job working in a corrections facility. Well, think about it. She can get all the attention. Well, she has a degree in criminal justice. Imagine spending 4 years of your life attending college to get a degree to be closer to F-cops. Because that sure seems like how it sounds. As she stormed around the house telling me how I invaded her privacy and I need to leave the past in the past, I knew things were done. Well, it's about time, amigo. But I also knew I was kind of stuck financially. I didn't have the means to just pack up and leave Florida. Smack! And that, gentleman, is yet another example why you always have an emergency fund. All sorts of emergencies could arise. If this guy had cash, he could get in his car and get the hell out of Dodge. At least you need enough money to have gas money to get from Florida to Massachusetts, some motel rooms, some food. That's about it, but not even that. My ex have been taking listen to this. My ex had been taking both of our checks in her account and would handle the bills. Smack! You were letting her control the money? Are you nuts? Big mistake on my part. She mismanaged our money so poorly that all our credit cards were mostly maxed out, even while I was working 55 to 70 hours every week. Living beyond our means, and I was clueless about it. Again, red flag 1,000. The girl had filed for bankruptcy just 3 short years before I met her. I knew better to allow her to handle our finances, but stupidly allowed it. Bro, what the fuck? Again, this is your big revenge plan? This will be what ultimately sets me free from the current hell that I was living in. The hell that you got yourself into. The constant text messages from random guys in which she refused to just get a new phone number for unknown reasons, to the constant fighting we were doing on a daily basis. She clearly had some underlying issues that I wasn't equipped to fix, nor was it my problem. It's not your job to fix any woman, dude. Or I know you know this, and to all you guys out there. The verbal and sometimes physical abuse I endured really did a number on me, especially after the things I went through that ended my last relationship. Well, the reason you put up with it is because you were so depressed before you met this woman. You were so worn down by... Because remember, your ex, you were with her for 7 years. And then boom, like that, she tossed you away like a piece of garbage and married some other dude. Understandably, you're depressed and fucked up. Okay, I get that. But my God, that's why she was able to railroad you like this. How she was able to take advantage of you because you're the weakness. If you had been a happy person if you had worked on yourself truly, multiple fronts when you met her, you would never have gotten involved with her or stayed with her after all this. That's why, guys, you shouldn't just jump from one relationship to another. You got to work on yourself and what went wrong and all that. Otherwise, you could be in an even worse situation, as you can see right here. The final straw came one morning in 2016. All this other shit wasn't the final straw or straws? I'd woken up before her as usual, but because she was a lazy piece of crap and would sleep half the day, mostly days if not working. I saw her phone light up while walking past her and looked over. It was from a guy friend, who she said was an old friend and never did anything with him, and he lived halfway across the state. That time I happened to pick it up and use her face to unblock the phone while she was asleep. The text messages were of them talking about how he wished they had hooked up before, but in the past, and she agreed. She didn't shy away from the conversation, but took the attention she wanted and ran with it. Shocker. I yelled so loud in her ear to wake her up, fuming. I lit her up, calling her every name in the book I could think of. Bro, you're acting like a fucking emotional temper tantrum throwing woman here. I hope you understand. I know that, again, this is the past, but I hope you recognize your behavior was like this temper tantrum throwing fucking woman here. You know? Jesus Christ. Guys that behave like that, freaking out, yelling and carrying on. There are moments when it's warranted to yell, but right here, just round and round in the drama. I gotta wonder, man, I mean, was there a lot of turmoil in your family growing up that to you this was normal? I mean, really? Was it like this in your previous relationship? She, of course, played off as nothing had happened, and it was the past, and that it was just talking. I was finally done and started to plan a way out of there ASAP. Well, praise Jesus, man. That same day, after me yelling all morning, she breaks it to me that we are drowning financially and can't keep the house afloat. No surprise. I said to her, great, let's not waste any time and I'll head home and you can sell the stuff in the house and keep all the funds to pay off your credit cards you may have. I just want it out that house and away from her as quickly as possible before I did something I regretted. I'm assuming you started squirreling away money at this point so you could get enough gas money to get back to Boston. That same week, I had my car and dog packed up and headed back to Massachusetts for the last time, never to return. As anyone who was wondering if anything had come from my previous ex, with me exacting any form of jealousy, revenge to make myself feel better, well, it was lackluster. How would your ex possibly have jealousy and you get revenge of being with this freaking ogre? Really? Not long after I returned back to Florida, her mother had passed away from the disease she was fighting, and my ex had moved away to northern Florida. I found this out after running into her sister randomly while out about one day. She at least got to see me in shape and looking better than ever. Even if I never made its way to my ex about her running into me, I couldn't care less at this point. I matured and learned so much from these last two awful experiences that it made me appreciate my friends and family more than getting validation from some woman. And I'm in a better place today because of it. Well, if you went through all that crap and learned something, then okay, it's worth it. If you didn't learn something, then holy crap, dude. As a little jump ahead in time, it is now 2024, and a lot of things have happened over this period of time. I met my now wife, which I was not actively looking for at the time, but let things happen organically. We have fights here and there, like any couple, but nothing major, and nothing like the crap I was put through with my ex. What the hell did I call M? He says M. What did I call her? Megan? Yeah, Megan. We had and lost a child 1 week after being born. Oh my God, man, I'm sorry. It was sure the worst thing someone can ever go through, losing a child as a parent. But that just made my wife and I stronger in spite of the tragedy. We now have a 10-month-old daughter who I adore. Well, congratulations, Papa. May you raise her well to not be like the gals we have in the world today. I never knew I could love someone so much it hurts until I had my little girl. It sounds corny, but it's true that having a little girl can melt your rigid heart. Well, that's what I hear. I don't know, guys. You think my heart, my rigid heart, my black heart can be melted? Well, cats melt my heart. Lastly, a little update on the crazy ex. So my mother is still friends with her on Facebook and loves to keep tabs on her out of curiosity and comedy, since we love to make fun of her and most of her failures. See? Women love drama. Your mom obviously knew how she treated you, and yet they're still connected on Facebook so your mom can see what she's doing and get her little drama kicks. Women never change. But recently she got married. And wait for it, he's 19 years old. She would be approximately 44 years old this year. They both wear Mr. and Mrs. matching shirts and even flaunt the fact that her husband is basically a child and can't even legally drink. She's 44 and she got with a 19-year-old. He can't drink. I mean, oh my God. This poor dumb bastard. I've seen some photos of him wearing a I Love My Cougar Wife shirt, which is hilarious and cringe all at the same time. To no surprise, he's military. Here's hoping that karma pays her back tenfold when he realizes that when he's 44, she'll be 65 years of age. Poor dumb fool. Thanks for listening, and sorry again for the long story. Well, that was an interesting one. And for those of you that are still left that haven't departed because you want to kill the guy, well, I'm glad you learned. I'm glad you now have a happy marriage. I don't want to hear about you fighting all the time. I mean, there's disagreements in relationships, but fighting is a different thing. So let's work on the temper there. But anyhow, congratulations to your daughter. That's really great, man. I'm really happy for you. I'm sorry what happened with your first child. I mean, that usually tears apart couples. So the fact that you and your wife stayed together, that's really great. And as for your ex, absolute train wreck. So I don't know what made you stay with her. I think because you were just so hurt and depressed at what happened with your first relationship. After 7 years, she just threw you away like a piece of garbage. But regardless, yeah, all the signs, guys, all the red flags. You see them, run for the hills. And you have to really do some self-diagnosing sometimes. Like, why am I with this person? Why am I putting up with this? And you do some digging, you can pretty much find out usually it's low self-esteem. So this is why I encourage guys to work hard to become the best they can be so they don't have the low self-esteem to put up with this shit, right? But anyhow, at least you learn, and you got definitely a story for the grandkids one day. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.